This is Street Smart. I'm Trish Regan. Welcome back, everyone. Mitt Romney is the favorite in tomorrow's New Hampshire primary. But do his tax and economic plans really hold up to scrutiny? Joining me right now, live from my own home state of New Hampshire, born and raised, thank you very much, is Bloomberg executive editor Al Hunt, and with him, a New Hampshire political tastemaker, union leader, publisher Joe McQuaid. A pleasure to see both of you guys. You know, we really want to talk a little bit here about whether or not Romney's economic plan is the right one for America at this point in time. And Joe, I want to begin with you first by citing an editorial that you had out over the weekend where you said Romney may be the worst candidate. He claimed his claimed record as a fiscal conservative governor is as much of a sham as his flip-flops on social issues. Do you not buy his economic conservatism?
Well, I haven't memorized all 59 points of Romney's plan, and I don't buy them all. And the reason I said I think he's the worst candidate, he's so narrowly focused on the economy, and I think America's problems are deeper than just the economy, which is starting to improve. So if that's the only thing he's got going up against Barack Obama, I think that makes him the worst candidate for the Republicans. And no, I don't think there's a lot of meat on the bone of his plans.
You know, being an economic news organization, we care very deeply about the economy here, so I want to keep talking about this and Romney's economic plan. I want to get over to Al Hunt and ask a little bit about the differences here between what Romney's offering up versus a Santorum, versus Gingrich. You look at the income tax plan, for example, and I think we have a nifty little graphic here we can show our viewers. I mean, Mitt Romney's talking about extending the Bush tax cuts. Rick Santorum has a bit of a progressive approach here, 10%, 28% is the two brackets. And Newt Gingrich has a 15% flat tax that he's offering up. Is there a feeling within some of the Republican establishment that Mitt just isn't going far enough?
Well, certainly that's the case that Gingrich, Santorum, and John Huntsman make. They all have what they call bolder tax plans. They certainly are larger tax cuts. Huntsman would eliminate many preferences. Santorum would eliminate all taxes on manufacturing. Romney's is a very typical Republican tax cut plan, at least the Republican Party of 5 or 10 years ago. And I'm not sure he's being hurt by those charges, but it certainly isn't as big or, as they put it, bold as the others.
Joe, eliminate taxes for manufacturers. I mean, it kind of rings of a populist type campaign. If we were to eliminate taxes for all manufacturers, you might actually run the risk of creating some very false incentives.
Well, you might do that, but you also might bankrupt us, because if you don't have any revenues, you're in trouble. And I think the financial and the retail community would say, no, wait a minute. You know, if you eliminate it from manufacturing, you're picking, that's an industrial policy. You're picking winners and losers. I mean, one can argue that both ways.
You know, he's also talking about a 17.5% tax for everyone else if you're not manufacturing. So I don't know about you, but, you know, I'd be thinking about starting a manufacturing business tomorrow if the tax incentives were really there.
Well, Joe and I say, if you'll come up here, that's great, Trish, but we want you up here. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I think Gingrich was hitting Romney for sort of picking and choosing between classes in terms of his capital gains cut, wasn't he? It was only good for people up to $200,000, and Gingrich says there are a lot of entrepreneurs who put up a lot more of their capital than that, and why should they have to pay more?
I mean, if you make $201,000, it looks like you'll get hit with that capital gains.
Well, then you're in the 1%, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you look forward to South Carolina, Al, and you see some of the super PAC commercials that we've seen are getting released, do the Republicans really, are they running the risk of shooting themselves in the foot? In other words, they're already making the campaign that Obama would theoretically make by really going after Romney this hard? Or is it the right thing to do because he's going to face those accusations at some point anyway?
Well, that's the argument that the Romney people make. That, look, what they're doing is they're making this, we don't like it, it's no fun, but that, in fact, once he emerges as the nominee, which they think he will, that we'll say this issue has already been vetted and will at least weaken the Obama case. I'm not sure I buy that, because I think what it really has done is it's put the issue, it's made it a legitimate issue more legitimate even for Democrats, because otherwise the Romney people would have said class warfare. Well, I'm sorry, Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry, and the private equity thing is going to be, I think it's been his great calling card. It's been the thing he emphasizes on the stump. I think it's now going to become a bit of an albatross too.
Mm-hmm. Joe, your take on that?
I think it's really tough for the Republicans. On the one hand, everybody wants the prize, and they're going after it. On the other, as your question implies, aren't they giving comfort to the Democrats in advance? But I think Al's take is right, and Romney's for that matter. Get it out now. See what happens. I'm sort of sorry that the others didn't get it out a little sooner than the day before New Hampshire's primary.
Well, you've been very vocal in your editorials backing Gingrich, not backing Romney. The Union Leader newspaper, I certainly know it well, the only statewide newspaper in New Hampshire, and it has a very big impact on voters. And yet this time around, it doesn't look like it's really going to sway people. Romney still is going to take it. Why do you think that is?
Well, two things. William Loeb would say that he only made a difference if it was a close race, and he might make 5 or 10 points different. I kidded this morning, we can only do so much with what we have. But the other thing is, because the establishment Republican base wants so much to beat Obama, and they have decided, I think falsely, but they have decided that Romney is the guy, the private investment guy. A year ago, everybody said it's going to be the economy, stupid. Well, a year from now, I don't know that that's going to be the case. But I think that's why Romney has done as well as he has.
Trish, also, let me tell you something. Joe McQuaid has done this in a very, I think, tempered way. He's written strong editorials. William Loeb would have been, shall we say, harsher against Mitt Romney and perhaps for Newt Gingrich. Although I suspect,
have no doubt
and Joe won't acknowledge this, I suspect Joe some days wonders, should I have backed Santorum? I don't expect him to tell us that today.
No, actually, my son said I should change tomorrow and back Santorum because he said, Dad, we'll get a lot of hits.
On that website.
It's all about the hits.
Well, I never had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Loeb, but I did know his wife, Naki. And I do want to point out that you guys are actually in the old shoe mill there in Manchester, which is where my great-grandfather used to work. Hometown gal. Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Bloomberg's own Al Hunt and Union Leader publisher Joe McQuaid right there in Manchester.
Great to be with you, Trish.